The stars shimmered like tiny diamonds scattered across the endless black canvas of space. The orbital research station, a sleek metal structure floating high above Earth, hummed softly with the sounds of machinery and human activity. Inside, Alex Carter sat at his workstation, staring intently at a screen filled with streams of data. His fingers moved quickly over the keyboard, analyzing patterns and anomalies in the cosmic signals they had been monitoring for weeks. Alex was only 28, but he already had a reputation as one of the brightest minds on the team. His dark hair was always slightly messy, and his glasses often slid down the bridge of his nose when he leaned too close to the monitor. Despite his quiet demeanor, Alex's mind was always racing, piecing together puzzles that others found too complex to solve. Today, however, something unusual had caught his attention, a signal unlike anything he had seen before. "Dr. Monroe," Alex called out, turning toward the older woman who stood nearby reviewing reports. Laura Monroe, the head of the research team, was in her late 40s with sharp features and an air of authority that commanded respect. She had spent decades studying the mysteries of the universe, and her calm yet determined personality made her a natural leader. "What is it, Alex?" Laura asked, walking over to his station. Her tone was calm, but there was a hint of curiosity in her voice. She trusted Alex's instincts, knowing he wouldn't call her over unless it was important. "I'm picking up something strange," Alex replied, pointing at the screen. "It's not coming from any known source. The frequency matches galactic communication protocols, but it's encrypted beyond anything we've encountered." Laura frowned, leaning closer to examine the data. "This could be significant," she murmured. "Let's run a decryption sequence, if this is what I think it might be." She trailed off, her eyes narrowing as she processed the implications. For the next hour, the two worked side by side, feeding the signal into the station's advanced decoding systems. As lines of code scrolled across the screen, Alex felt a growing sense of unease. Whatever this message contained, it wasn't going to be good news. Finally, the encryption broke, and the text appeared on the screen in plain language. "It's from the Galactic Council," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper. He scanned the words quickly, his heart sinking with each sentence. When he finished, he looked up at Laura, his face pale. "They've reclassified Earth." Laura took a deep breath, bracing herself before reading the message aloud. "To all interstellar entities, the planet designated as Earth has been officially reclassified as a Class 13 Deathworld. All travel to and interaction with this planet are strictly prohibited due to extreme environmental hazards, aggressive native species, and unpredictable biological threats. Further details will follow in subsequent communiques." The room fell, silent. Alex stared at the screen, trying to make sense of what he had just heard. A Class 13 Deathworld? That was the highest possible threat level, reserved for planets so dangerous that even advanced civilizations avoided them at all costs. How could Earth, their home, be labeled as such? "This doesn't make sense," Alex finally said, breaking the silence. "Sure, Earth has its problems, pollution, wars, diseases, but we're nowhere near that bad. Why would they do this?" Laura rubbed her temples, her expression grim. "It's not about how things are now," she explained. "The Council operates based on historical data. They probably reviewed records from centuries ago when humanity was more primitive and violent. Add in our current environmental issues, and it's no wonder they came to this conclusion." "But it's not fair," Alex exclaimed, frustration creeping into his voice. "We've made progress. We're not the same species we were back then." "I know," Laura said gently. "But fairness isn't part of the equation here. The Council's priority is safety, not justice. And once a classification like this is issued, it's nearly impossible to overturn." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Alex and Laura exchanged worried glances before rushing to the main control room. There, chaos reigned. Other scientists and technicians scrambled to understand the cause of the alert. "It's Earth," someone shouted. "The signal leaked. News outlets are broadcasting it worldwide." Laura cursed under her breath. They had hoped to keep the information contained until they could figure out how to handle it. But now it was public knowledge. Panic would spread faster than wildfire, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Back on Earth, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Social media platforms lit up with posts, videos, and angry commentary. People gathered in streets and town squares, demanding answers from their governments. Some expressed fear, wondering if alien invaders would descend upon them any moment. Others were outraged, feeling betrayed by forces beyond their control. In Washington, D.C., emergency meetings were convened between world leaders. President Rachel Mitchell addressed the nation in a televised speech, urging calm while admitting that the situation was unprecedented. "We are working tirelessly to resolve this issue," she assured viewers. "Rest assured, we will not allow anyone, or anything, to dictate our fate." Meanwhile, aboard the orbital station, Alex struggled to focus. The weight of the situation pressed heavily on his shoulders. He couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just some bureaucratic mistake. Something bigger was at play, and he intended to find out what it was. Later that evening, as the rest of the team tried to process the day's events, Laura pulled Alex aside. "I need you to dig deeper," she told him. "Find out everything you can about why the council made this decision. Look for inconsistencies, loopholes, anything that might give us leverage." Alex nodded, determination replacing his earlier despair. "I'll start right away," he promised. Little did he know, his investigation would uncover secrets far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Over the next few days, Alex poured himself into his work, barely sleeping or eating. He sifted through archives of old galactic reports, cross-referencing them with modern data. What he found shocked him. Many of the claims used to justify Earth's classification were outdated or exaggerated. Some even seemed fabricated, as though someone had deliberately painted humanity in the worst possible light. One night, as Alex pored over a particularly suspicious document, he noticed a name mentioned repeatedly: the Velari Syndicate. It was a shadowy organization within the Galactic Council, known for its ruthless tactics and exploitative practices. Could they be behind this? And if so, why? Before he could explore further, another transmission arrived from the Council. This time, it was addressed directly to the station. Laura gathered the team in the briefing room to listen. The voice on the other end was cold and mechanical, devoid of emotion. "Attention, orbital personnel. Your continued interference in galactic matters is noted and unwelcome. Cease all attempts to challenge Earth's classification or face severe consequences." The message ended abruptly, leaving the room in stunned silence. Alex clenched his fists, anger boiling inside him. Whoever these people were, they weren't just making decisions, they were issuing threats. "We can't let them get away with this," Alex said firmly, meeting Laura's gaze. "If we don't fight back, they'll crush us." Laura nodded, slowly, her resolve hardening. "Then we fight," she agreed. "But we'll need help. Someone with resources and connections we don't have." As if summoned by her words, a new figure entered the room. Commander Ryan Ellis, a tall man with piercing blue eyes and a commanding presence, introduced himself. He had been monitoring the situation closely and believed Alex and Laura were onto something. Together, they formed an unlikely alliance, united by a shared goal: to expose the truth and reclaim Earth's place among the stars. Though the road ahead would be fraught with danger, Alex knew they had no choice but to move forward. For the first time in days, he felt a flicker of hope. Earth might be labeled a death world, but its people were survivors, and they weren't about to go down without a fight. The days that followed were a blur of activity aboard the orbital research station. Alex, Laura, and Commander Ryan Ellis worked tirelessly to piece together the puzzle surrounding Earth's sudden reclassification as a Class 13 death world, while Alex focused on analyzing data and uncovering hidden connections. Laura coordinated with other scientists stationed across the globe, pooling their collective knowledge to challenge the Galactic Council's decision. Meanwhile, Ryan used his military contacts to gather intelligence on the Velari Syndicate. the shadowy faction suspected of orchestrating the entire scheme. Alex spent most of his time in front of his workstation, surrounded by stacks of printed reports and glowing screens. His desk was cluttered with empty coffee cups and half-eaten energy bars, evidence of his relentless dedication. Each new discovery brought him closer to understanding the motives behind the Council's actions. But it also deepened the mystery. The more he dug, the clearer it became that someone or something was deliberately manipulating the narrative about Earth. One evening, as Alex sifted through decades-old galactic records, he stumbled upon a startling revelation. Hidden within the archives was a series of memos exchanged between members of the Velari Syndicate. These documents revealed that the Syndicate had been quietly lobbying for Earth's reclassification for years. At first glance, the reasons seemed vague, references to strategic interests and long-term objectives. But one phrase caught Alex's eye: biological resource potential. What does that even mean? Alex muttered to himself, leaning back in his chair. He stared at the screen, trying to connect the dots. Was Earth being targeted because of its unique biology? It made sense. Humanity had always taken its diverse ecosystems for granted, never considering how valuable they might be to outsiders. From deadly diseases to apex predators, Earth harbored countless organisms unlike anything found elsewhere in the galaxy. Determined to share his findings, Alex rushed to find Laura and Ryan. They were in the briefing room, poring over star charts and tactical maps. Ryan stood at the head of the table, pointing out key locations where Velari operatives were known to operate. Laura sat nearby, jotting down notes while occasionally interjecting with questions. Both looked up as Alex burst into the room. I think I know why they're doing this, Alex said breathlessly, holding up a tablet displaying the suspicious memos. It's not just about labeling Earth as dangerous. They want something from us. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Go on, he urged, gesturing for Alex to explain further. Alex placed the tablet on the table and scrolled through the documents. These memos mention biological resource potential. I think the Velari are planning to exploit Earth's biosphere for weapons, maybe even experiments. Our diseases, our wildlife, everything we've got could be turned against us. Laura frowned, her brow furrowing as she absorbed the information. That would explain why they pushed so hard for the Class 13 designation, she said slowly. If Earth is seen as off-limits, no one will question what they're doing here. Ryan nodded grimly. And if they succeed, humanity won't stand a chance. We'd be completely vulnerable. The gravity of the situation settled over them. Like a heavy blanket, for a moment no one spoke. Then Ryan broke the silence. We need proof, he said firmly. Something concrete that ties the Velari directly to this plot. Without it, we're just speculating. But how do we get proof? Alex asked, frustration creeping into his voice. They're light years away, hiding behind layers of bureaucracy and secrecy. Ryan tapped the star chart on the table. We go straight to the source, he replied. There's a facility on Zither 7, a moon controlled by the Velari. If anyone knows what's really going on, it'll be there. Laura shook her head. Are you serious? That place is practically a fortress. Even if we could get in, getting out alive would be another story. It's risky, I'll admit that, Ryan conceded. But it's our best shot. Besides, we don't have much of a choice. If we don't act now, Earth's fate is sealed. Alex hesitated. The idea of infiltrating an alien stronghold terrified him. He wasn't a soldier. He was a scientist, more comfortable with equations than combat. Yet deep down he knew Ryan was right. Sitting back and waiting wasn't an option. If they wanted to save Earth, they had to take bold action. Okay, Alex said finally, steeling himself. I'm in. Over the next few days, the trio began assembling a team for the mission. They needed individuals with specialized skills who could handle whatever challenges lay ahead. Ryan suggested recruiting Samantha Brooks, a former special operations officer known for her sharp instincts and unmatched combat abilities. Laura, meanwhile, recommended Ethan Cole, a brilliant engineer with a knack for hacking alien technology. Together, the four of them formed a formidable unit, each member bringing something vital to the table. Samantha, or Sam as she preferred to be called, arrived at the station looking every bit the part of a seasoned warrior. Her short blonde hair framed a face marked by determination, and her piercing green eyes missed nothing. She carried herself with confidence, exuding an aura of quiet strength. When Ryan briefed her on the mission, she didn't hesitate to sign on. "Count me in," she said with a smirk. "Alien conspiracies, secret facilities. Sounds like my kind of fun." Ethan, on the other hand, was a stark contrast to Sam's brash demeanor. Short and wiry, with glasses perched on his nose and a perpetual look of mild anxiety, he resembled more of a nervous grad student than a daring adventurer. But beneath his unassuming exterior lay a genius capable of dismantling even the most advanced systems. "You're asking me to break into a Velari base?" he asked nervously when Ryan explained the plan. "That's insane, but yeah, I'm in." With the team assembled, preparations shifted into high gear. Ryan secured a prototype starship called the Aurora Blade, a sleek vessel equipped with cutting-edge cloaking technology designed to evade detection. Laura and Alex worked together to refine their strategy, mapping out potential entry points and escape routes. Sam drilled the group on combat tactics, ensuring everyone knew how to defend themselves if things went south. And Ethan tinkered endlessly with the ship's systems, adding custom modifications to give them an edge against any obstacles they might encounter. Despite their meticulous planning, tension lingered in the air. None of them doubted the danger they were about to face. The Velari were notorious for their ruthlessness, and failure meant certain death, or worse. Still, there was an undeniable sense of camaraderie among the team. They had come together, under extraordinary circumstances, united by a shared purpose. On the eve of their departure, Alex found himself alone in the observation deck, staring out at the vast expanse of space. Earth loomed large in the distance, its blue-green surface shimmering faintly in the sunlight. He thought about all the people down there, oblivious to the threat looming over them. If he and his team succeeded, they could prevent untold suffering. If they failed, well, he didn't want to think about that. "You okay?" a voice asked softly behind him. It was Laura, holding 2 steaming mugs of coffee. She handed one to Alex before joining him at the window. "Just thinking," Alex admitted, taking a sip of the hot liquid, "about everything that's at stake." Laura nodded. "It's a lot to carry," she said gently. "But remember, you're not alone in this. We're all in it together." Alex managed a small smile. "Thanks," he said. "I needed to hear that." As they stood side by side, gazing at the planet they were fighting to protect, a renewed sense of resolve washed over Alex. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready. Earth might have been labeled a death world, but its people were survivors. And so was he. The next morning, the team boarded the Aurora Blade and set course for Zither 7. As the ship slipped into hyperspace, leaving Earth far behind, Alex took one last look at the planet through the viewport. He didn't know what awaited them at their destination, but one thing was certain: they weren't coming back until they had answers. The journey to Zither 7 was long and tense. The Aurora Blade hummed quietly as it traveled through the vast emptiness of space, its cloaking device ensuring they remained invisible to any prying eyes. Inside the ship, the mood was a mix of determination and unease. Each member of the team had their own way of coping with the stress. Sam spent hours sharpening her combat skills in the cramped training area, while Ethan obsessively checked and rechecked the ship's systems, muttering to himself about potential glitches. Laura pored over star charts and alien communication protocols, searching for anything that might give them an advantage. And Alex? He mostly kept to himself, staring out at the stars or reviewing the data he'd collected. Despite their different personalities, the group worked well together. Ryan made sure everyone stayed focused, his calm but firm leadership keeping morale from slipping too low. During meals, which were eaten quickly and often in silence, he shared stories from his time in the military, offering bits of wisdom that helped ease the tension. "You never know what's going to happen out there," he told them one evening. "But if you stick together and trust each other, you can handle anything." As the days passed, Alex found himself growing closer to the others. At first, he had felt like the odd one out, a scientist surrounded by people who seemed far more capable in dangerous situations. But slowly he realized that his role was just as important as anyone else's. Without his knowledge of alien technology and his ability to analyze complex data, the mission would have been doomed before it even began. Even Sam, who initially teased him for being too brainy, started showing him respect after he helped her recalibrate her weapon system during a routine check. Finally, after nearly 2 weeks of travel, Zither 7 came into view. It was a desolate moon, its surface covered in jagged rocks and swirling clouds of toxic dust. In the distance, a massive structure loomed, an imposing fortress-like building that housed the Velari facility. The sight sent a chill down Alex's spine. This was it, their destination, their battleground. Ryan gathered the team in the cockpit for a final briefing. "All right, listen up," he said, his voice steady and commanding. "We've got one shot at this. Sam and I will create a distraction outside the facility to draw their attention away from the main entrance. Meanwhile, Alex and Ethan will sneak in through the service tunnels and access the central database. Once you're inside, download everything you can find, especially anything related to Earth's classification. We don't leave until we have proof of the Velari's plans." "What if something goes wrong?" Ethan asked nervously, adjusting his glasses. "What if we get caught?" "Then we improvise," Ryan replied without missing a beat. "But let's not think about that right now. Focus on the task ahead, and we'll make it through." With the plan set, the team prepared for landing. The Aurora blade descended silently toward the moon's surface, its cloaking device masking their approach. When they touched down in a secluded crater several kilometers from the facility, Ryan gave the signal to move out. Armed with weapons and equipment, they disembarked, moving cautiously across the barren landscape. Sam took point, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon for signs of danger. Behind her, Ryan carried a heavy pack filled with explosives, ready to deploy them if needed. Bringing up the rear were Alex and Ethan, both weighed down by portable computers and hacking tools. The air was cold and thin, forcing them to rely on oxygen masks to breathe. Every step felt heavier than the last, the weight of their mission pressing down on them. When they reached the outskirts of the facility, Ryan signaled for Sam to begin setting charges near the outer defenses. The explosions would serve as a diversion, drawing the Velari guards away from the service tunnels where Alex and Ethan planned to enter. As Sam and Ryan moved off to execute their part of the plan, Alex turned to Ethan. "Ready?" he asked, trying to sound confident despite the knot in his stomach. Ethan nodded, though his hands trembled slightly as he clutched his toolkit. "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied. Together they slipped into the shadows, making their way toward the service entrance. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lined with exposed wiring and pipes that hissed softly with steam. Alex used a handheld scanner to guide them, avoiding areas marked with security sensors. Every sound, the creak of metal, the distant echo of footsteps made his heart race. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. After what felt like an eternity, they reached the door leading to the main facility. Ethan knelt down, pulling out a small device designed to interface with alien locks. His fingers flew across the keypad as he worked, sweat beading on his forehead. Come on," he muttered under his breath. Suddenly, the lock clicked open, and the door slid aside with a soft hiss. Alex exhaled sharply, relief flooding through him. They were in. Inside, the facility was eerily quiet. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting long shadows along the walls. Rows of computer terminals lined the corridors, humming softly with activity. Alex led the way, following the map displayed on his scanner. They soon arrived at the central control room, a large chamber filled with glowing panels and holographic displays. "This is it," Alex whispered, gesturing for Ethan to start hacking into the system. While Ethan worked, Alex kept watch, peering through the doorway to ensure no one was approaching. His mind raced as he thought about what they might discover. Would it confirm their suspicions about the Velari's plans for Earth? Or would it reveal something even worse? Minutes ticked by agonizingly slowly. Finally, Ethan let out a triumphant whisper. "Got it," he exclaimed, holding up a data drive. "I downloaded everything. They won't know we were here." Before they could celebrate, however, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights flashed, bathing the room in an ominous glow. "They must have detected the breach," Alex said urgently. "We need to get out of here now." Grabbing the data drive, Ethan scrambled to his feet. Together they retraced their steps, moving as quickly and quietly as possible. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Guards shouted orders in a guttural alien language, their voices distorted by static-filled comms. Just as they reached the service tunnel, a squad of Velari enforcers appeared around the corner. Sam and Ryan burst into view moments later, firing their weapons to cover the retreat. "Go! Go!" Ryan yelled, motioning for Alex and Ethan to run. Heart pounding, Alex sprinted down the tunnel, Ethan close behind him. Bullets ricocheted off the walls, narrowly missing them. Ahead, Sam and Ryan provided covering fire, taking down enemies with precision shots. It was chaos, but somehow they managed to stay alive. When they finally emerged into the open air, the Aurora blade was waiting for them. Ryan shouted for everyone to board, and within seconds, the ship lifted off, leaving Zither 7 and the pursuing Velari behind. Back aboard the vessel, the team collapsed into their seats, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ethan broke the silence, holding up the data drive triumphantly. "We did it," he said, a grin spreading across his face. "We actually did it." Alex nodded, exhaustion and relief washing over him. They had risked everything and succeeded, but their fight was far from over. Whatever secrets the data contained, they knew one thing for certain: Earth's fate depended on what they did next. The Aurora blade raced through space, its engines roaring as it pushed to put as much distance as possible between them and Zither 7. Inside the ship, the mood was a mix of triumph and tension. They had escaped the Velari facility with the data they needed, but none of them could relax just yet. The stolen drive weighed heavily in Ethan's hands, its contents still unknown. For now, all they could do was focus on staying alive. Alex sat in the cockpit beside Ryan, staring out at the stars streaking past the viewport. His mind was racing. What had they really uncovered? Was it enough to expose the Velari's conspiracy? Or would it only lead to more questions and more danger? He glanced at Ryan, who gripped the controls with steady determination. "Do you think we lost them?" Alex asked quietly. "For now," Ryan replied without taking his eyes off the instruments. "But the Velari don't give up easily. If they find out what we took, they'll come after us. We need to stay sharp." Behind them, Sam leaned against the wall, cleaning her weapon with practiced ease. Her expression was calm, but there was a flicker of unease in her green eyes. "We did good back there," she said, breaking the silence. "But this isn't over, not by a long shot." Ethan, meanwhile, was hunched over a workstation in the main cabin, already working on decrypting the data. His fingers danced across the keyboard as lines of alien code scrolled across the screen. "This is going to take some time," he muttered, adjusting his glasses. "Their encryption is ridiculously complex." Laura joined him, peering over his shoulder. "Take your time," she said reassuringly. "We've got nowhere else to be right now. Just make sure you don't miss anything important." For hours, Ethan worked tirelessly, occasionally asking Laura for input when he encountered particularly tricky sections of code. The rest of the team tried to rest, but sleep was elusive. Every creak of the ship, every blip on the radar made them jump. They were safe for the moment, but the threat of pursuit loomed large. Finally, just as exhaustion began to set in, Ethan let out a triumphant shout. "I'm in," he announced, spinning around to face the others. "I've cracked it. Let's see what these bastards have been hiding." Everyone gathered around the screen as Ethan began sifting through the files. At first it was mostly technical jargon, logs of experiments, genetic sequences, and environmental scans. But then they found something that made their blood run cold. These are plans," Ethan stammered, scrolling through diagrams and schematics. "They're designing bioweapons, using Earth's biology, our diseases, our wildlife to create weapons capable of wiping out entire populations. Alex felt a chill creep up his spine. He had suspected something like this, but seeing it laid out in black and white was horrifying. So that's why they reclassified Earth, he said softly. They wanted to isolate us so no one would notice what they were doing. Laura nodded grimly. It makes perfect sense. A Class 13 designation gives them free rein to exploit Earth however they want. No one will question it because everyone thinks the planet is too dangerous to approach. Sam clenched her fists, her jaw tightening. Those sons of bitches, she growled. They're using us as lab rats. Ryan studied the files carefully, his expression darkening with each revelation. This goes deeper than we thought, he said finally. If the Galactic Council finds out about this, it could tear them apart. The Veilari Syndicate has been playing both sides, pretending to protect the galaxy while secretly arming themselves for war. But how do we prove it? Alex asked. Even if we broadcast this information, who's going to believe us? The Council might just dismiss it as propaganda. That's why we need to hit them where it hurts, Ryan replied, firmly. We spread the truth directly to the public. Alien species, human governments, anyone who will listen. Once people see the evidence, they won't be able to ignore it. Ethan raised a hand hesitantly. There's more, he said, pointing at another section of the files. Look at this. The group leaned in closer as Ethan opened a series of intercepted communications. The messages revealed that the Veilari weren't acting alone. They had allies within the Galactic Council itself. Powerful factions had turned a blind eye to the Syndicate's activities in exchange for promises of advanced weaponry and technology. It was corruption on a galactic scale. This changes everything, Laura said, her voice trembling with anger. If we expose this, it could destabilize the entire council. Governments will collapse. Wars might break out. And if we don't, humanity will pay the price, Ryan countered. We don't have a choice. Earth's survival depends on us. Alex nodded slowly, resolve hardening in his chest. He had always seen himself as a scientist, someone who observed and analyzed from the sidelines. But now, he realized he couldn't afford to sit back anymore. This wasn't just about science, it was about justice, about protecting the planet he called home. We'll need to act fast, Sam said, standing up. Once the Veilari realize we've cracked their files, they'll stop at nothing to silence us. We need to get this information out before they catch up. Ryan agreed. Our best bet is to transmit the data directly to the Galactic News Network. It's the largest independent media outlet in the galaxy. If we can hack into their system and upload the files, it'll go viral instantly. Ethan groaned. Of course it involves hacking. Why does everything involve hacking? Despite his complaints, Ethan got to work immediately, setting up a secure connection to the network. The process was painstaking, requiring precise timing and careful maneuvering to avoid detection. As he worked, the others prepared for the possibility of an attack. Sam armed herself to the teeth, checking and rechecking her gear. Ryan plotted alternate routes in case they needed to change course quickly, and Alex helped Laura compile a summary of the key findings, condensing the overwhelming amount of data into something digestible for the public. Hours passed in tense silence. Finally, Ethan leaned back in his chair, a look of satisfaction on his face. Done, he said. The files are uploaded, now we wait. Almost immediately, alarms blared throughout the ship. A proximity alert flashed on the radar. A squadron of Veilari patrol ships was closing in fast. They found us, Ryan said grimly, rushing to the cockpit. Hold on tight. This is going to get rough. The Aurora blade banked sharply, narrowly, avoiding a barrage of plasma fire. Laser blasts lit up the darkness outside, illuminating the pursuing ships. Sam joined Ryan in the cockpit, manning the secondary weapons console. Let's show them what we're made of, she said with a fierce grin. The battle was intense. Explosions rocked the ship as Sam and Ryan fought back with everything they had. Ethan scrambled to reroute power to the shields, his hands flying across the controls. Laura and Alex braced themselves against the walls, holding on for dear life as the vessel shuddered under the assault. Just when it seemed like they wouldn't make it, Ethan shouted, "I've got an idea! There's a nearby asteroid field. We can lose them there." Ryan didn't hesitate. With a deft touch, he steered the ship toward the dense cluster of rocks. The Velari ships followed, but their larger size made navigation difficult. One by one, they collided with asteroids or veered off course, unable to keep up with the nimble Aurora blade. By the time they emerged on the other side, the enemy was gone. Breathing heavily, the team collapsed into their seats, relief washing over them. They had survived for now, but their fight was far from over. Back in the main cabin, Laura pulled up the Galactic News Network feed on a monitor. The headline was already spreading like wildfire. Velari conspiracy exposed. Earth targeted for bioweapon development. Comments flooded in from across the galaxy, ranging from outrage to disbelief. Humanity's plight had captured the attention of countless species, sparking debates and protests on dozens of planets. "It's working," Alex said, watching the reactions unfold. "People are listening." Ryan nodded, a hint of pride in his voice. "Good. Let's hope it's enough to turn the tide." As the Aurora blade continued its journey, Alex allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. They had risked everything to bring the truth to light, and though the road ahead remained uncertain, he knew they had taken the first step toward reclaiming Earth's place among the stars. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The aftermath of the data leak spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Within hours, the Galactic News Network was flooded with reports about the Velari Syndicate's sinister plans. Species from all corners of the universe reacted with a mix of shock, anger, and disbelief. Some governments called for immediate investigations into the Council's corruption, while others demanded action against the Velari. Protests erupted on alien worlds, with crowds chanting slogans like "Justice for Earth" and "Expose the Truth." Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, suddenly found itself at the center of galactic attention. Back aboard the Aurora blade, the team watched the unfolding chaos with a mix of pride and apprehension. They had succeeded in exposing the conspiracy, but the consequences were far greater than they had anticipated. Alex sat at a workstation, scrolling through news feeds and monitoring reactions. His heart swelled with hope as he saw species rallying to support Earth, but his mind couldn't shake the looming threat of retaliation. The Velari wouldn't take this lying down. They would come after them harder than ever. "They're calling us heroes," Ethan said, pointing at a video clip showing an alien newscaster praising their bravery. "I mean, I don't feel like a hero. I just feel tired." Sam snorted, leaning back in her chair. "Don't get used to it. Once the Velari regroup, we'll be lucky if we live long enough to see another sunrise." Ryan nodded grimly. "She's right. This is just the beginning. The Syndicate will do everything in its power to silence us, and anyone else who dares to speak out." Laura paced the cabin, her brow furrowed in thought. "We need to prepare for the worst. If the Velari strike back, we can't afford to be caught off guard again." Alex looked up from his screen, his expression serious. "What's our next move? We've exposed them, but that won't stop them from continuing their experiments. We need to shut them down completely." Ryan crossed his arms, thinking carefully. "You're right. Exposing the truth was step one. Now we need to hit them where it hurts, their operations. If we can destroy their facilities, including the one on Zether 7, we might stand a chance of stopping them for good." Ethan groaned, slumping in his seat. "Of course, more hacking, more sneaking around, more running for our lives. Why does every solution involve risking death?" "It's because we're the only ones willing to try," Sam shot back, giving him a pointed look. "If you want to sit this one out, feel free, but don't expect anyone else to clean up the mess." Ethan sighed, shaking his head. "Fine, I'm in. But if I die, I'm haunting all of you." With the decision made, the team began planning their next mission. Ryan mapped out potential targets, focusing on key Velari strongholds scattered across the galaxy. Laura worked on analyzing the stolen data further, identifying vulnerabilities in their systems. Sam and Alex trained together, honing their combat skills in preparation for whatever lay ahead. Even Ethan, despite his complaints, threw himself into upgrading the ship's weapons and defenses. Days turned into weeks as they prepared for what would likely be their most dangerous operation yet. The Velari, meanwhile, weren't idle. Reports surfaced of increased patrols near human colonies and heightened security at their bases. It was clear they were bracing for another attack and determined to retaliate against the Aurora Blade. Finally, the day came to launch their assault. Their first target was a smaller Velari outpost located on a remote planet called Krylos 9. Unlike Zither 7, this facility wasn't heavily fortified, making it an ideal starting point. Ryan outlined the plan during a final briefing. Sam and I will infiltrate the base and plant explosives. Alex and Ethan will stay with the ship, ready to provide backup or extract us if things go sideways. Understood? Everyone nodded, though tension hung thick in the air. No one spoke as they suited up, each lost in their own thoughts. When the Aurora Blade touched down on Krylos 9, the team moved quickly, sticking to the shadows to avoid detection. The planet's surface was barren and windswept, with jagged cliffs and deep ravines providing natural cover. As Sam and Ryan approached the facility, Alex and Ethan waited anxiously aboard the ship. The minutes dragged by, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, a signal crackled over the comms. "Explosives are set," Ryan's voice said. "Get ready to pull us out." Before they could respond, alarms blared inside the facility. The Velari had detected the intruders. Gunfire erupted, echoing through the desolate landscape. Alex clenched his fists, watching helplessly as Sam and Ryan fought their way back to the extraction point. Bullets whizzed past them, narrowly missing as they sprinted toward the ship. "Go! Go!" Ryan shouted as they reached the Aurora Blade. Ethan didn't hesitate, firing up the engines and lifting off just as the explosives detonated behind them. A massive fireball engulfed the facility, lighting up the night sky. Back in the safety of space, the team breathed a collective sigh of relief. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. "One down," Sam said, wiping sweat from her forehead. "How many more to go?" "Too many," Ryan replied grimly. "But we've proven we can do it. That's something." Over the next several days, they targeted additional Velari outposts, striking swiftly and retreating before reinforcements could arrive. Each mission was risky, pushing them to their limits both physically and mentally. But with every success, their confidence grew. The Velari's grip on the galaxy was weakening, and the tide of public opinion continued to turn against them. Their final target, however, loomed large in their minds: Zither 7. Destroying the main facility would deal a crippling blow to the Syndicate, but it would also be their most dangerous mission yet. The moon was now under heavy guard, with patrols sweeping the area constantly. Breaking in would require precision, teamwork, and a healthy dose of luck. When the time came, the team gathered in the cockpit for one last briefing. Ryan looked at each of them, his expression uncharacteristically soft. "This is it," he said quietly. "If we succeed, we'll have struck a decisive blow against the Velari. But if we fail, well, let's not think about that. Just remember why we're doing this. For Earth, for humanity, for everyone who believes in justice." No one spoke, but the determination in their eyes said it all. They were ready. The Aurora Blade approached Zither 7 under the cover of darkness, its cloaking device masking their presence. As they descended, Alex felt a familiar knot tighten in his stomach. He glanced at Ethan, who gave him a nervous smile. "Here we go again," Ethan muttered. Once on the ground, the team split into two groups. Sam and Ryan led the charge into the facility, planting explosives along critical points. Meanwhile, Alex and Ethan worked to disable the base's central computer system, ensuring the Velari couldn't recover their research. The tension was palpable as alarms blared and guards closed in. Just as they finished their tasks, disaster struck. A squad of Velari enforcers cornered Alex and Ethan in the control room. Trapped with no clear escape route, they braced themselves for the worst. But before the enforcers could act, Sam and Ryan burst in, guns blazing. "Move!" Ryan yelled, covering their retreat. They barely made it back to the ship, diving aboard just as the explosives detonated. The facility collapsed in a spectacular display of destruction, sending shockwaves rippling across the moon's surface. As the Aurora blade soared into space, the team collapsed into their seats, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. "We did it," Laura said finally, breaking the silence. "We actually did it." Alex stared out at the stars, a sense of awe washing over him. Against all odds, they had fought back against the Velari, and won. Earth's future was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like there was hope. The destruction of the Zither 7 facility marked a turning point in the fight against the Velari Syndicate. News of their victory spread quickly, bolstered by the evidence they had already leaked to the Galactic News Network. The tide of public opinion had shifted dramatically, with many alien species and governments calling for the dissolution of the Syndicate and reforms within the Galactic Council. For the first time, humanity wasn't seen as a pariah or a threat. It was viewed as a symbol of resilience and unity. Back aboard the Aurora blade, the team allowed themselves a brief moment to celebrate. Exhaustion lined their faces, but there was a spark of pride in each of them. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, not just for Earth but for countless others who had suffered under the Velari's schemes. Yet even as they toasted their success with ration packs and recycled water, they knew their work wasn't finished. The Velari might have been weakened, but they weren't defeated. Not yet. Ryan stood at the front of the ship, staring out at the endless expanse of space. His expression was thoughtful, almost somber. "This isn't over," he said finally, breaking the quiet. "The Velari will regroup. They'll try to rebuild, find new ways to exploit weaker species. We've dealt them a blow, but we need to make sure they can never rise again." Alex nodded, his mind racing. He had always thought of himself as someone who observed from the sidelines, analyzing data and solving problems from a safe distance. But now, after everything they had been through, he realized that wasn't enough. Change required action and sacrifice. "What do we do next?" he asked. Laura stepped forward, her voice steady. "We share our story. Not just the facts about the Velari, but everything we've learned about working together, standing up for what's right. Humanity needs to see that we're capable of more than survival. We're capable of leading." Sam chimed in, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed. "And we keep fighting. If the Velari think they can come back stronger, we'll be ready. They won't know what hit them." Ethan, still clutching his laptop, looked up nervously. "You mean we're not done risking our lives?" Ryan chuckled softly. "Not anytime soon, but don't worry. We'll figure it out as we go." With renewed purpose, the team set their sights on Earth. It was time to return home and deliver the proof they had gathered. As the Aurora blade entered orbit around the planet, Alex felt a lump form in his throat. From above, Earth looked peaceful, its blue oceans shimmering under the sunlight, its continents painted in shades of green and brown. It was hard to believe such a beautiful place could ever be labeled a death world. When they landed, they were greeted by President Rachel Mitchell and a delegation of world leaders. The president's face was etched with gratitude and determination as she shook hands with each member of the team. "You've done something extraordinary," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "Because of you, Earth has a chance to reclaim its place among the stars." Over the following weeks, the team worked closely with global leaders to present their findings to the Galactic Council. Through live broadcasts and diplomatic negotiations, they laid bare the Velari's corruption and demanded accountability. The Council, facing mounting pressure from both within and outside its ranks, agreed to revoke Earth's Class 13 designation. In its place, they issued a formal apology and pledged support for humanity's integration into interstellar society. But the changes didn't stop there. Inspired by the team's courage, people across the globe rallied behind a new vision for Earth's future. Governments collaborated on environmental initiatives to heal the planet's damaged ecosystems. Scientists and engineers focused on developing technologies that could benefit all species, not just humans. And for the first time in history, humanity began reaching out to alien civilizations. seeking partnerships instead of isolation. As life slowly returned to normal, the members of the Aurora Blade crew went their separate ways, but their bond remained unbroken. Ryan resigned from active duty, choosing to mentor young recruits who dreamed of exploring the stars. He often visited schools and training facilities, sharing stories of bravery and teamwork to inspire the next generation. Sam stayed true to her roots, forming a private security firm dedicated to protecting Earth from future threats. Her reputation as a fearless leader grew, earning her respect not only on Earth but throughout the galaxy. She kept in touch with the others, occasionally joining forces for missions that required her unique skills. Ethan returned to his lab, where he continued to innovate and push the boundaries of technology. His modifications to the Aurora Blade became the blueprint for a new fleet of starships designed to safeguard humanity's interests in space. Though he still grumbled about hacking alien systems, his confidence soared as he tackled increasingly complex challenges. Laura published a groundbreaking paper on interspecies cooperation, advocating for a future where science served as a bridge between worlds. Her work earned international acclaim, and she became a key advisor to the newly formed Intergalactic Research Institute. She also mentored Alex, encouraging him to pursue leadership roles within the scientific community. For Alex, the journey had transformed him in ways he never imagined. No longer content to stay hidden behind a desk, he embraced his role as a spokesperson for humanity's potential. He traveled the galaxy, giving lectures and forging alliances with alien scientists. Along the way, he discovered a passion for diplomacy, using his knowledge and experience to build trust between species. One evening, months after their return, Alex found himself back at the orbital research station. Standing in the observation deck, he gazed out at Earth, its beauty illuminated by the soft glow of the setting sun. Behind him, Laura joined silently, holding 2 cups of coffee. "How does it feel?" she asked gently. Alex smiled, taking the offered cup. "It feels hopeful," he replied. "We've come so far and there's still so much to do, but for the first time, I believe we can handle whatever comes next." Laura nodded, her eyes reflecting the same optimism. "That's the spirit. After all, we're survivors." As they stood side by side watching the stars twinkle in the distance, Alex felt a deep sense of peace. Earth might have once been labeled a death world, but its people had proven they were anything but. Through courage, unity, and an unwavering belief in a better future, humanity had taken its rightful place among the stars. And as long as there were those willing to fight for justice, the galaxy would shine a little brighter.